Special thanks goes out to Kuntar, who asked me what I thought SJW meant. He's a cool guy with cool audio and an avatar that reminds me of Korgoth. Only the best cartoon that ever used to be on Adult Swim. That lasted one episode. You should go watch all his videos and subscribe to the man. So my biggest hang-up about the term SJW is it seems to be some poorly defined lazy catch-all for people you feel suck. If you want a super lazy quick definition to skip this whole entire video, this is how I'm going to try and understand this to the best of my knowledge. I'd say that if you let something get away from you, where some kind of movement has taken up too much of your time and has so much of an influence upon you that you've become bothersome to everyone around you, then I guess that would be as good of a classification for SJW as I could think of. Beyond this point, I'll be reaching into my toolbox here, and I'm 100% confident I'm going to fail at this. And hopefully a brighter mind than mine will see this idea, tweak it a bit, and we'll all be better off for it. Some of you guys might be familiar with Jeff Foxworthy and his series You Might Be a Redneck If. Basically, Jeff lists off a series of stereotypical hillbilly traits, and if you've gone through them, it's a way to be self-aware and laugh at yourself, whether you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. For example, if you have a back porch and it collapses and kills more than 3 dogs, you might be a redneck. If I do this right, you're going to qualify for 1 or 2 of these, and that's not going to make you an awful person. It's something you should be aware of and we can all laugh at together. And again, I'm a moron, and I'm going to try and pull from common stereotypes to make this list. Number 1, being a liberal, especially after the latest election. I'm a liberal. About a good 50% of you guys in the populace are likely liberal, at least around the United States. So right off the bat, you do know we're going to be a bit silly here. Number 2, being a vegan. I'm not personally judging you. Again, I'm just going by stereotypes. Number 3, being a feminist. I probably am judging you this time, but who cares? Number 4, being a communist. Though I would argue, why would you need to call someone other than a communist? You're diluting what should be a strong enough label. This is not the place or the time to break down why Marxism is utter garbage. We may come back to that, but it's been covered at length throughout YouTube history and honestly anywhere else. Number 5, if you feel the need from the moment you wake up to talk about gender identity politics, if you look forward to it, if you can't go a day without discussing it, or against it, yes, that means you too, Carl. In fact, I feel this should be 2 points. If you know deep down inside that you're not that obsessed, good on you. Only you could be honest with yourself. Number 6, if you're literally incapable of being honest with yourself. Now, to be fair, a lot of us lie to ourselves about all this kind of crap. And this is just one of many symptoms, so don't be too bummed out. But being self-aware when you pull this kind of bullshit is a wonderful step to how much of a dumbass you're being. You identify as something other than you obviously are. Let's say like a Democrat. I mean, sure, you could go gender. And you could say this overlaps with being honest with yourself, but by many of these topics' natures, we're going to have some overlap. Number 8, apparently you love Muslims. Number 9, if you feel white people owe you anything or anyone else, you might be an SJW. Number 10, if you focus on race or race-related issues on a daily basis. The need to go through one of these videos and argue point by point the merits or the lack thereof. Again, guilty myself. Try not to get too triggered. Number 12, if you have a Tumblr account and you use it for more than a porn dump. Number 13, if you post about your feelings on a regular basis on social media, and I don't mean if your dad died, your cat died, your car died, especially if that car was fucking expensive. If your house burned down or your hard drive got wiped out and you lost more than a terabyte of porn, you get a pass. Like, if you have a midlife crisis every other week, yeah, everyone feels the abnormality and weight of the world now and again. But if this cripples you on a regular basis, you might be an SJW. Number 14, if you cry once a week, you might be a social justice warrior. Number 15, if you care about people you've never met, you might be a social justice warrior. I'll include talking to someone in text counts as meeting. Someone you've never talked to or never will talk to. Number 16, if you defend people who hate you, you might be a social justice warrior. Number 17, if you believe your opposition is entirely compromised of morons, you might be a social justice warrior. Number 18, if you feel social policies should come before economics, you might be a social justice warrior, especially if your country's economics are in the shitter. Number 19, if you care about other countries more than your own, you might be a social justice warrior. Number 20, if you believe in anything, you might be a social justice warrior. And 21, just a bonus here, if you've ever talked about the patriarchy unironically, you might be a social justice warrior, for or against. Now, if you see this list and manage to score 0, you must be a special kind of douche. Now, I understand that you might have good reasons for some of these, and that's why I put might, and that's why this is going to be based on scoring. So, let's look at my score. If you feel some of these are kinda sorta describe you, you can cheat and give yourself a half point. I myself got 8 points, maybe 7. I decided to be honest with myself. And I'm going to assume me being dishonest with myself is more likely than not. And I don't fancy myself better than the average human being. So let's see. 0. You are a complete nihilist who doesn't care about anyone or anything. 1 to 2. You are a hyper tight-assed conservative. 3 to 4. You can likely pull this off if you don't follow that much in politics and busy yourself with your friends and family and they do the same. 5 to 6. You've just barely started to care about things other than yourself. I'm assuming you're a teenager. Don't worry, this will pass. 7 to 8. Good news, that teenage crap has passed. And you're now a worse person for it. This is exactly where I am. 9 to 10. You likely clock in 3 to 5 hours online minimal daily. The longest you've been without the internet is 2 days tops, and you remember those days as the worst days of your life. 11 to 12. You're likely a content creator on YouTube that uses this pastime to subsidize some of their bills. You yearn for the day where you can be an authority to drive and direct the masses, to educate them from their ignorance. 13 to 14. You've reached that point of no return. You are an authority. This is your full-time job. You look at normies, and at best all you can do is shake your head. 15 to 16. You clock in 8 to 12 hours in front of your computer. You can't go a day without getting on the web. You are the elite tier of your own belief system, whether others know it or not. You have reached a level of madness that science, if it could comprehend, it would run and scream away in terror as far as it could. That is, if science were a sentient being. 7 to 18. You have regressed mentally to being a child convinced of your enlightenment socially, why ironically no one at this point can stand you at any length of time. And 19 to 20. Congratulations, you've taken something that might have been good and twisted it into an all-consuming thing that has made you a caricature of what you once were. You are the wet dream of all your enemies, and secretly, they thank creation that you exist to validate how right they are about themselves. I hope you've enjoyed this. Take care!